Wonderful. Nice to see everyone. So yes, if you can, please turn on your cameras. I know sometimes connectivity is an issue and you might need to turn it off, but if you can, let's turn on your cameras. Let's rename ourselves to your name, the organization that you're with, and the city or state that you're in, or the country. We're worldwide over here. So my name is Francesca Sesti Brown. I've been a facilitator with Humentum for a little over 5 years. I also am the director of finance and operations at a department at Georgetown University. I have over 20 years of experience leading teams and managing groups, from students, interns, all the way to faculty, entry level, and professional staff, and also in different geographic areas. And so I've been working remote well before the pandemic. So I'm be happy to share some experiences with you all and also hear from you. This is a very interactive group and session, which is one of my favorites. So it's all about sharing our stories and our practices. This is our little support group, if you will, and we're all excited to be here with you. So this is, just to make sure you're in the right course, the management skills. And it's a workshop designed to give your insight on the skills that you need to be an effective manager in today's workplace. So again, some little housekeeping rules. We start and end on time, so please be prompt. Be present when you're here. So take a minute to close your windows and let's not multitask.
Sorry, Francisca, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, sorry, yes. Let me share that. Thank you, Marinda. Let me introduce Marinda, my colleague who is going to help in all that is technical behind the scenes work that we do here. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
If you have any technical issues, you don't have access to log into the platform curator that we're going to talk about now, please message Marinda and she will work her magic with our team and get you all set up. So let me go back to some housekeeping rules. So be present. So close out your other screens, turn on your camera, update your name tags. And if I am going too fast, please let me know. I do love this course. It's very exciting. And as we get to know each other more, you will see that it is a very fun group. So very excited to be here with you. One thing I do want to share with you is that this course, all of it is more of a presence, and we will have the slides. Every workshop is going to get recorded, and within 24 hours, it is going to be on our curator website, so on our platform. So let me show you what that looks like. Everyone should have received an email welcoming them to the course with some links to the curator platform. Let me share my screen again. Perfect. So this is what it looks like. Let me go back to the level. Perfect. This is the main screen. It has all the dates for the workshop, and also you can download all the calendar invites that will have the Zoom information. And then when we start on the first pre-workshop information and resources, you click on that. You get to know a little bit about the platform, about me, and then you get to download all the items that you need for the course. So the workbook that we're going to be using, please download it. We will be using that. If you are able to print it, go ahead and print it, but you don't have to as long as you have access to it. And then it will download, and this is what the manual looks like. And this is a great resource for you to use with your teams or have moments to reflect. It's a very good tool. If you want to go back to the main page of the platform, you click back on levels and you move through the weeks and the modules. There are resources. Like I said, when this recording goes up, you'll find it here under webinar 1. And then there's always additional resources to help complement the workshops. So feel free to go in, download, and get yourself familiar with the platform. Any questions so far? it's a lot, but we're here. Awesome. For those of you that joined us a little late, please put your name, the organization that you are part of, and the city or country that you're in. No worries. Sometimes we're in between meetings and I totally understand. All the sessions are recorded and will be uploaded in the curator platform under each module. And just make sure that if you can do attend and be present and be here. This is a great course, but if, like always, it's what you put into it that you'll get out of it. So we're in this together for sure. I believe Mirinda put in the link for the curator platform in case you didn't already have it. She put that in the chat. There you go. Thanks, Mirinda, and the workbook as well. So please click on that workbook link. We will be using it in a few minutes, and we'll be using it at every workshop. Trying to open my chat here. Perfect. All right. So what we're going to discuss today. Share my screen again. Perfect. So we are going to introduce ourselves. In the chat, if you can tell me how long you've been with your organization, what is your role, and how many people you manage, and what is the biggest challenge in your role? I know it sounds like a lot, right? But it's just one word. So an example is 2 years. I've been in my role 3 months. I manage 6 people, and setting clear objectives is one of my biggest challenges. And one word that describes how you feel: I'm excited, I'm anxious, I can't wait. So we could take a moment and put that all in the chat. All right. It's to everyone. So we're going to make sure everyone knows who we are. That's a great question, Andrea. So just pop it in the chat. Make sure it's under everyone. So we're not private messaging people, because we all want to know who you are. Thank you, Summer. Managing up, yes. We're excited to have you. Thank you, Rachel, Angela, Sarah, perfect. Awesome. Alexis, we're a little bit of a big group, so this chat is going to just keep popping a little bit. Kelly, 1 week. Kelly has 1 week in her new role. Excited. Doesn't matter if you've been managing people or programs for a week, a day, or many, many years. We always need a refresher, and it's good to just have those conversations and refreshers. And things change, and sometimes we forget certain tools that we've learned along the way. So no matter where you are in the management spectrum, this will definitely be a good refresher. I personally learn every time through the course, just by also hearing your experiences. So it's awesome for me to engage with you all this way too. Awesome. Well, welcome. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick so I can look at your faces. Oh, yes. So real quick, again, I know we're all like Zoom experts, but I do want to share some just key things that we need. If you want to chat, everyone obviously found the chat because we've been chatting on it. There's a mute unmute button. And then there's also, we'll be using the annotate feature. So under, there's those 3 little dots on the bottom of your screen where you have the mute, the video. Then you're going to press those 3 little buttons and we'll show you more options. And then you drop down and it's annotate. And you can change the text. You can change the size. If you click on text, you can change the color. And I say that because in one of the upcoming parts of today, we'll be using the annotate feature. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing about yourself. So what are we going to be covering over the next 8 sessions? The first session, which is today, is getting your head in the game, right? We're going to just start fresh. We're going to see how things are going and get ourselves in this mindset of management and our expectations for managers. Then we're going to talk about your role as a manager, managing from the middle, understanding yourself and others, working with people, building the team dynamic, embracing the challenging conversations and challenging situations, and then drawing it all together. So that's what we're going to tackle in each of these topics over the next 8 days. Okay. All sessions start at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they last for an hour and a half. So we'll be wrapping up by 11:30. So try not to schedule meetings if you can during that time, so you can really be here with us for the whole session. So today's agenda, we're going to understand how we will, we're talking about how we're going to work together, and then also identify your own goals and the goals we have for you in this workshop. And then we're going to start exploring what being a good manager looks like. We're going to break down some stereotypes, but definitely get to understand what is the real expectations and what do managers really do. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to be using the webinars, the workbook, please download it, and any self-study tools that you see on the platform on Curator. And please try to attend every session if you can. That would be great. All right. So we are going to get started. We are going to have about 12 minutes to go through a case study that is on pages 4 through 6. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all your faces. 4 through 6 of your workbook. And Miranda's going to put you in groups of 3 or 4. And the things that you're going to discuss in your groups is, first of all, you're going to read the case study, and then you're going to talk about what are the key issues, who is to blame or who's responsible, and then what advice would you give Jane? So this case study is about Jane. And then appoint one person from your group to share the feedback when we come back together as a session. Awesome. If you have any questions, you can always come back to the main room. But I think you all will all be good. All right, Miranda's going to give me the thumbs up. And we are ready. I will see you in 12 minutes.
Okay, perfect. You will get a button to say invite me to the breakout room, or they will take you there automatically. Okay, there you go.
All here now. Wonderful. All right. So before we debrief, I do want to say that I may be rotating in and out of the breakout rooms. I'll have my video off, so please don't stop, just continue. Just want to make sure if you need anything, I'm there, and just to make sure that the conversations are flowing. Also, please engage with your colleagues and share your experiences. Perfect. Thanks, Brenda. Share your experiences. This is a safe space, and you're always welcome to share your experiences. You can change the names in your story, especially if there's some folks of the same organization, but definitely feel that this is a space that we can share and there's no judgment. I will be doing the same. I'll be sharing my stories and my experiences. And also, like I mentioned before, you will get out of this workshop as much as you put into it. And at the end, I will encourage everyone to exchange information and realize that you have a network of other colleagues that are going through the same management journey as you are, and definitely could be a resource in the long term. Okay, so please don't be shy, ask questions and share. So with that said, who wants to share what are the key things that came out of that case study with Jane? I just said don't be shy. Come on, everybody. All right, Donald, thank you so much.
Yeah, I can go first. I was in a group with Mary, Sarah, Ludmila, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Share. So for the first one, so some of the key issues that we identified in our group was, number one, there was lack of clarity on Jane's role, which kind of translated to the inability to prioritize tasks, as well as not being able to delegate some of the tasks. So she was taking a lot of responsibility, and also taking tasks from, kind of roles from her previous position into the new role. So those are kind of like some of the key issues that we identified. I see other hands. I'm going to stop there and not share everything.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate that. All right, Deborah, and then Susie.
Apologies, I'm having difficulties with my camera, so I'll just, you said the first issue, what are some of the issues?
Yeah, so what else would you like to add to Donald's list?
So one of the things we identified was a frequent issue in the organizations that we've worked for throughout our career, and that's somebody who's excelling at their job, and so they get moved to another position that needs filling. Often they get moved up in the organization, and that may or may not be a fit for their personality or skill set. And we seem to see that happening in this as well.
That's a great point. And that happens sometimes, right? We're great technically, but then, the next level up is more administrative work. So how do we handle that? Do we even want that, right? We may not, and that's okay. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Thank you, Deborah. Susie, go ahead, and then Emily.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll only add a couple things so that Emily, I'm not soaking up all of the pieces. We had talked about Jane failing to say no, where she doesn't have the skill set to complete the task or even the role at the outset. And then we also picked up the performance issue with the community liaison officer near the end of the case study. So there's a performance issue there that doesn't sound like she's handling super well.
Yeah, communicating and having those difficult conversations, right? And asking for help. It could be really hard for other people. So yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Susie. Emily.
My group said that some of the key issues were miscommunication about the expectations and responsibilities. So like Donald said, lack of clarity. And when she realized that she wouldn't be doing the work she enjoyed or was good at, she didn't make that clear or speak up. So we just said that both Jane and the manager have room to improve.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's a two-way street, right? Anybody else want to add anything else, any other observation to what some of the key issues are? Okay. Definitely also focusing on the task as opposed to people. So relationships with key team members is also important. Another possibility is the organizational culture on expectations and managing the workload and setting boundaries, right? Some of us are very prescriptive. We like to be told, right? You don't have to answer emails on the weekend. You don't have to answer emails past your work schedule. Some people don't need that. So maybe Jane is also one of those people that needs those boundaries to be spelled out for her instead of her only setting those boundaries. So that's also a thing. So who wants to share the last two, who's to blame, and what advice would you give Jane? Who wants to share the last two? Thank you, Stella.
So
and then Angela.
So in our group, we kind of discussed the issue of accountability. Maybe that's a better word for than blame. I was kind of hard. I was just like, let's talk about blame because I think at the end of the day, the buck always stops with the leader. So maybe in some ways, thinking about the case study again, like objectives for her new role weren't really communicated clearly. So maybe in some ways it might have even been the CEO's fault for promoting her and not making really clear what she was supposed to do. But also like on her, that project belonged to her, like every aspect of the project as country director. So I think at the end of the day, like the buck stops with the leader. If things go wrong with the people below you, it's because of a miscommunication on your part as a leader, oftentimes. I think it's very rarely the people under you to blame for what's going wrong. It's often the failure of the leader to communicate. So at least in my opinion, the leader is always accountable for everything that happens in their project and in their team.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, right? And they also set the tone for the way that they're going to lead the team and the conversations that they're going to have. So I think that's also very important. Perfect. Angela, and then Deborah.
Sure, thank you. I agree with Stella at some point, but also disagree at the other. I feel like there wasn't clarity maybe on the side of Jen, so we can blame her. And then it's two things, like owning up, accountability and blaming, but also feedback. So I can't, it wasn't clear in the case study, like who to blame. But what was clear is that the accountability line should be very clear, but also clarity of the responsibilities and these kinds of things. So I couldn't blame Jen, only it could be as a result of things out of her control, beyond her control, but she should own up to this. What advice I have for Jen is to maybe put a little bit, reflect, set clear deliverables as well as expectations from herself as well as from the team.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's building that team dynamic as well. And yes, it's a two-way street, right? In every situation, yes, you are the leader. There's a lot of things that you're solely responsible for, but also you as part of a team member, you need to be open and feel comfortable to having those conversations. And we'll definitely be talking about feedback later on in the course. It's so important to be open, even as managers, to receive that feedback, because we may not be providing the support that each person in our team needs in a certain way that they need it. So we'll talk about that, definitely. Thank you, Angela. Deborah, and then Summer.
So the group that I was in brought up an interesting point that it seemed that the individuals involved weren't necessarily following the organizational chart and job descriptions, and perhaps that there was a lack of an organizational chart, policies, job descriptions, lack of transparency. It wasn't clear if there was a lack of those things or if people just weren't following them. So it could be an individual responsibility, it could be an organizational responsibility, it could be both. So it was definitely a nuanced question.
That's a great point. That's interesting. Because sometimes there are other underlying factors that we just may not know about, right? Even to our own situations. There's things that maybe management knows or administration knows that we just don't know, but we're here trying to make everything fit, and we're that middle man or woman trying to navigate the needs of the organization, our donors, our partners, and our team, right? So yeah, we have to juggle a lot. Perfect. Thank you for that. Summer? Am I saying that right?
Samar.
Samar. I apologize.
Yes. No worries. The only thing I would add to this discussion in terms of advice to give Jane is for her to really reconsider how it is that she manages her time and to have an honest reflection on that, and also have an honest reflection on where it is that she needs help. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Even in a leadership position, I think that shows leadership when you ask for help and you specifically state, okay, in this particular area, I know that I'm struggling. Can you help me figure this out? Where can I fill in the gap in skills? And then at the same time, going to her team and trusting the team to also support, because I think that when you have a space of shared leadership, everyone's going to want to feel like they can contribute, that they have an important role to play, even though you might be the one with the title and the one that ultimately does need to be accountable for all that happens. But I do think it's okay to still ask for that help sideways and upways and all ways. I think that that's fine, because we're at the end of the day, we're human and we need to be mindful of the time constraints and the things we say yes and no to.
That's a great point. Thank you so much. Yeah, we definitely need to just make sure that we feel like we're part of the team, right? And that's trust. It all stems from having a good foundation of trust. So I love that. Andrea, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. And I'll make it quick because really the other groups covered so many things, but maybe on sort of a serious yet also slightly humorous note, one of the things we talked about in our group in terms of advice was to take a management training course, a management skills course, because I think for some of the reasons that even just like Samar just talked about, is that maybe sometimes you need a structured way to carve out and revisit and re-examine and plan. So back to you, Francesca.
Oh, thank you. No, that's a great point. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, no matter where you are in your management journey, there's always that reset that we have to do. And any professional development time that we can spend allowing ourselves to reflect and maybe get new skills or revisit something that we've already known, right? But we just put it to the side because we're also busy individuals that have our own life and have to manage work and all that good stuff. So these are always good no matter where you are in your journey. So I love that. Yes, let's plug that in. So the biggest thing here is also to understand that this is fixable. Like, you can come back from this, right? There's no blame really. And blaming people, it's really not a helpful situation. So instead, let's explore the situation as recoverable. So what can we do? She can also, a lot of you already said this, is apologize, right? Say you got off on the wrong foot, eat that humble pie, which also shows leadership because we're not perfect. Also press the reset button with your line manager. What is the dynamic you want to have? If you're not the top level supervisor, you can still manage up and have the dialogue and the team and the communication that you want to see. So you have that power shift that you can also do. Okay. So involving others, making it a team environment, she needs to reset and realize, how do I want to lead my team? How do I want to be led, right? And then reciprocate that to her team and have that open and honest conversation. I love that. And then have her relationship evolve to a coach, a coaching, probably ask for her supervisor to have a coach or a mentor within the organization to help have that dialogue and that support that she needs as a manager and as a new manager, more so than anything. And that's why I say this group right here could be a total network and additional resources for all of us as we continue our journey into management. So it's always important. We're not alone. Everyone's been through it. We can always help each other, okay? So this workshop is a lot about exploration. The goal is not just to give you the knowledge that you need to be successful, but more importantly, the space to explore and apply what you learn on your own. So not every situation is the same, but you can take what you learn or what you hear from others' experiences and apply it to your real life situations, okay? So we're gonna take a moment and I want you to open to page 3 of your workbook or just a blank sheet of paper, anything that you can use to write. And let's go to page 3 of your workbook. And we are gonna take 2 minutes to write 3 goals that you want out of this workshop. Okay. And then out of your top 3, I'm going to share my screen and you're going to use the annotate feature to put one of your goals in that annotate screen that I'm going to share. So you can turn off your cameras if you're comfortable. And then I'm going to put a timer, and in 2 minutes, we can turn on your cameras and then put on my screen on the annotate what your goal is, your one goal. Okay, so now you can use the annotate feature and put your goal on my screen. That would be perfect. And remember, you can go to the 3 little dots that say more and then drop down on the annotate feature. If you click text, then it will show you the different colors and font sizes that you can use. Perfect. So we have our first one, better define objectives. And you can move your comments around so that we can show all of us. And then you can change the font size in case we need to make more space. Perfect. It should be the 3 little dots on the bottom where your bar is, where the microphone and the video, and it will be dropped down that says more. And then right in the middle, it will say annotate. If you don't see it, just go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll put it on the screen for you. So we have ways to get around it, no worries. Perfect, we're gonna take another minute here. Lovely. How to be an effective manager to deliver as well as mentor my supervisee and grow my supervisees. That's awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Katarina. Self-help and ask questions, and no worries if you're on a phone. We will make this work. Thank you, Kelly. You're getting everyone, not to worry. Managing through challenges, apply new knowledge to increase team efficiency. Perfect. Get better at delegating. Yes, we all need reminders on delegating. Perfect. Wonderful. All right. What do we have here? Sorry, double duty here with Zoom. There we go. Awesome. I think we have everything we need. Thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. So, I just want to take this time also to recap on what our goals are for this workshop. So it's to describe the role of a modern manager and the key attributes, describe the multiple influences on the manager's role and context, and then draw from a toolkit of interpersonal skills that support you in your role as a manager, and apply the best practices in managing the individual as well as leading and inspiring your team. And then how do we embrace challenge by drawing on your skills from this management toolkit, but also be open to having difficult conversations and getting a bit more comfortable with that. A lot of us are not. And so working our way through that is also very helpful. And also how to manage yourself by balancing the demands of the work and life that we all face, but also continuing to reflect and carve out time to critically continue to learn and develop as a manager. So all this and the goals that you have put for yourself, we will be working on together, and that we hope that leads to building your confidence to be the right manager that your team needs and finding that balance for yourself. Okay. So now that we know from Jane that being a manager even with the best intentions, is not easy, right? We're juggling so many things, and it could be something challenging for us. So we're going to take a few minutes and go to the page on workbook 7, and we're going to break out into groups, and we're going to just pay attention to your group names. We're going to have one group or a couple groups that talk about activities, another one that talks about skills, another one that talks about qualities. And you're going to work in your groups to describe what does a manager do? What activities do they do? Like monthly program reports, communication with a donor. Group 2, which is the skills group, is going to answer what are the skills of an effective manager? A good listener, a good communicator. And then group 3 is going to talk about what are the characteristics of an effective manager. So what qualities? Empathy, right? Patience. All right. So pay attention to your group name because it will have one of these 3 areas. And then we will take it from there. So Marinda will let me know when she's ready. And we're gonna have 10 minutes to go through that. Perfect. I am going to stop sharing real quick. Everybody safe. And Marinda, you'll give me the thumbs up when we're ready.
I just want to rename one quality.
Any questions or thoughts in the meantime?
Okay.
All right. So we're almost there. We're being flexible.
Okay,
A little bit of a big
perfect.
group.
Yes, takes a little bit longer. There we go. You're going to go into your breakout rooms now.
See you in 10 minutes. So how was this for you? How did you think about, what were your thoughts around this exercise? Was it easy? Was it hard? Is your list long? Is it short? Which category, for those that did all 3, had a bigger list than the other? So feel free to just, Victoria? Did you want to say something? Your mic, I saw you unmuted. Okay, perfect. All right. I'm just going to call on you, Alexis, because you're right next to me on my screen.
That's okay, no problem. So I was in the group that we didn't know what to do, so we did all 3. We were overachievers. It actually was really even across the different tasks, skills, and qualities. I think that I think going through the path of all 3 made it easier to start just kind of brainstorming, to go from that direction. I think it would have been harder if we had just been thrown into let's just talk about qualities, because then we would have kind of circumvented and talked about everything anyway. That's how I feel
Exactly.
it would have happened. So I personally got stuck at the qualities because I felt like there were probably things that we were missing. And so then my head was, what am I forgetting? Right. But I think overall we had about 5 or 6 for each one of these sections.
That's good. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Kelly?
Yeah, so my group was talking about skills of effective managers. And I think we had a little bit of trouble thinking of what makes a skill versus just a characteristic. But we put together a pretty long list and thought it included delegation of work in a thoughtful way, not just giving out work to give work, but to motivate, to focus on the stuff that matters, to give people things they're excited about, but also get the stuff that needs to get done. They're good at difficult conversations and having those with empathy and thoughtfulness. They're good at time management. They're good facilitators, mentors, and coaches. They're good motivators and encouragers, and they have long-term vision versus just focusing on the short term. And they have interpersonal skills, both kind of upwards in terms of dealing with leadership, but also downstream within their team.
That's awesome. I like how intentional you're being, even with the delegation, right? Because it's not just also like just delegating, but delegating in a thoughtful way, which I think is so important. Just like it's not just listening, right? It's being an active listener. So I love that you were so specific with that. Shire?
Yeah, so we had the group 3, and
Mhm.
so what are the characteristics of an effective manager? A lot of things have already been said because they kind of overlap a little bit, but I would say, being a good communicator is definitely one of them. Having empathy and being understanding to the needs of the organization and the needs of your direct reports and everyone else that you're interacting with is also very important. Being people-centric, not necessarily task-centric.
Hmm.
Developing and providing mentorship to direct reports, um, being a reliable and dependable person, building those relationships with others, being an honest and trustworthy person, and having a positive outlook so that you can inspire the team and provide collaboration. Um, those were some of the characteristics we found.
Thank you.
Being honest with your own capabilities and your capacities. Um,
Yeah.
this was something that came up. Being flexible. So if someone says no, how to handle that, and also being able to say no to others seems to be another characteristics. And lastly, we have on here is being emotionally intelligent.
Ooh, yes. We don't see that often in a lot of job descriptions, but we should, right? That's really cool. Thank you for sharing. Allison and then Sarah.
Yeah, so I'll kind of follow on. We were talking about skills, so like everyone's saying, skills and characteristics kind of go hand in hand. But a lot of the things that we were talking about, people have mentioned. A couple of things additional is that it's really useful when your manager is competent in the subject area and has the respect of their team. So while you might not necessarily be doing the work yourself, it's, I think, crucial that you understand the work that your team is doing on a practical level. We also talked about being an effective advocate on behalf of your team and for your team. So being able to say, no, we're not able to take on additional projects that would overwhelm them, that will make our team less effective. Being able to do that in a diplomatic way in order to achieve your kind of strategic goals. That's something that we thought would be a really useful skill. Being able to be objective and respectful within your team. So even though you may have someone that you think does really good work, not automatically taking their perspective, or not automatically taking the perspective of somebody who comes from a similar like communication style or cultural background as you. So trying to be competent cross-culturally is really important. So yeah, those were kind of some of the things that we had been talking about.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so tact is a very important characteristic. Awesome. Sarah, go ahead.
Thanks. So our group also had what are the characteristics of an effective manager. So I'll try not to repeat anything that's already been said. But building off of some of the examples that have already been listed, we were thinking about one characteristic is transparency. And in addition to being able to admit, your capacities, also an ability to admit faults. So sort of an ability to have a humanistic approach. Being able to be assertive, but also considerate or gentle. So sort of treading both of those lines. Being curious in an approach and willingness to diagnose challenges and sort of think through solutions. Also being able to be sort of intuitive beyond being told directly what a challenge is or a situation, or assessing a situation, and then also being a good convener or facilitator for your team to make them feel like they're part of a team and you're their advocate.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that you build that trust and you become their representative, if you will, and advocate for your group. Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing we really didn't dive into is what activities does a manager do? So in the chat, we can pop in some activities, write reports, liaise with the donors, I love that we focused a lot on the characteristics and skills, but what are some things that managers, what do you all do? What's your day to day? Set expectations and goals. Thank you, Deborah. Go ahead, Andrea.
There, sorry about the unmute delay.
No, it's okay.
So our group actually did discuss activities. So while people are writing in, I thought I would just summarize that. And it occurs to me that we need to sort of group them ultimately, but it was set clear expectations and objectives, obviously supervise, coach, lead, and empower people, represent the organization externally, whether that's with clients, donors, vendors, partners, clear communication, of course, within the team and externally, ensuring quality, like the quality of the work that our team is doing, whatever that team is, right? And guiding and influencing the tone for the team. Like we kind of talked about, the manager can't totally set the tone because there are things that are out of their control, and they also maybe shouldn't be entirely setting it. And then managing up, of course, and advocating. And then just finally, problem solving, right? Like you need to problem solve sort of real time. And then finally, just this idea of being able to pull back from all the immediate day-to-day and sort of think longer term and bigger picture. So sort of extricating from just all the details to go strategic.
That's awesome. That's great. I like the quality control piece. I must say it's one of the first times that I've heard it, but I think it's so important because a lot of people also don't think that a lot of what we do is also customer service, right? Where we're providing a service to our teams, to our donors, to our upper management. So it's interesting to also think about it too with the quality control piece, making sure that there's cohesion, everyone's on the same page. That's great. I really like that. Awesome. So guess what we all just did? That's a job description. That's a total job description, right? And it's also interesting because now we get to see all the roles and the hats that we have to wear in addition to our own activities and skills that we ourselves have to manage, right? As professionals and individuals. So we have a lot going on, right? So it gets really tricky to be intentional about what hat you're wearing, depending on the person and the situation. Because as we know, one size does not fit all. So you can't have the same approach for everyone in your team. Not everyone learns the same. Not everyone, carries out or communicates the same as well. So you have to see what each person needs and what each situation needs from you. Okay. I don't know if anybody noticed, but the one word that was really missing from all of this was boss. Even though we sometimes do have to be a boss, right? That's the final decision maker. My favorite definition of a boss is a person who is in charge. That's it, right? Sometimes we do have to make those executive decisions. It's not up for discussion or a team conversation. So you do have to be that boss, but it's knowing when to be that boss. So, I mean, let's be honest, who does all these things perfectly well? No one, not Jane, not her boss. So no wonder she's having a hard time. So being a good manager is a lifelong journey. The fact that you're here means that you care and that you're willing to invest in your process. Okay. And it's a process and it's a journey and it's a spectrum, right? It's an art to manage a team because they're different personalities. There are life situations. They're also, you also have your own goals. They have their own goals. The organization has their own goals. And so it's evolving skill to coordinate and manage people and projects. You can be a good project manager, but it doesn't mean you're a good people manager. And some of us have had supervisors that are great managing the project, but when it comes to that people management, they're missing something, right? It's that empathy or that communication or that putting yourself in the shoe, whatever it may be, they're missing that people connection piece. So they're two different skill sets. I just want to be clear. Okay. So any questions or thoughts on what we've covered so far? Okay. We're easing you into the course with today being day one. So we started thinking today about what it means to be a good manager. And it is important to know what our goals are in order to stand a chance to getting better. Okay. So in the chat, take a few minutes and tell me what is the one thing you will take from today's as a key observation. What is one thing that jumped out at you? Just put it in the chat. If you want to think about it and turn off your camera, that's perfectly fine. When you're done, you can turn it back on. Being intentional with delegating, all that's involved in project management versus people management, and that is, this is a journey. Yeah. All managers have these struggles. Yes, you're not alone. I'll examine what it takes to be a good manager and where I can improve, be honest, and what I can do. It's hopeful to have a new network and mentor. Yes. Remember, you're not alone. So the more that you create and reach out and create that network of folks within your organization or outside of your organization, it's really helpful because you will really have a sounding board or someone to just get some advice from. Some organizations offer mentorship programs, offer coaching, and that's great, but sometimes not all of us have that opportunity. So creating that network or within your colleagues or friends or other folks that you meet, just like in this workshop, is really important. Okay. Great. So we're already at the end of day one. Like I said, we're easing you into this. We will be honestly ending right on time every day. So please join right on time, which again is 10 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. And we will finish at 11:30. So with that said, I want to thank you today for your time. I'm so excited to be here in this journey with all of you. And it was a really great session. And we will see you tomorrow. If you have any problems logging into the Curator platform, please stay after everyone leaves, or send me a little note so that we can look into your access if there is a problem. Don't forget to download the workbook, and don't forget to see us tomorrow right on time. Thank you all so much.